What's going on, wrestling fans? It is Monday night, and Wrestling Warm-Up is here. Of course, myself, Doug McDonald, here from WrestlingRumors.net. You are on WrestlingRumors.net right now, whether you're watching via YouTube, you found us through Twitter, whatever, we're here. And, of course, we're going to be talking about Extreme Rules from last night. We're also going to be running down what's in store for Raw tonight. And then, of course, we'll get on to something that's really awesome. And I want to start off talking about this. For years, we've talked about the fact that they needed to do this, and we know that Money in the Bank kind of replaced this as a pay-per-view, kind of replaced this as the stepping stone for the next champion in turn, because this used to be the benchmark of who's going to probably be the next WWE champion, and it's the King of the Ring tournament, the return of the King of the Ring tournament. We haven't had this in 5 years?
Yeah, 5 years.
4 or 5 years. So this is awesome. It went away after as a pay-per-view in the early 2000s and came back as a contest that they did on Raw in 2008 and then on SmackDown in 2010. And there you go. Now it's back as we're going to get some good tournament matches, some qualifying matches and stuff tonight on Raw. That's what's in store for the majority of Raw. We're going to get some qualifying matches. We've got a first round going on, and then tomorrow night we will see the semifinals and finals from 8 to 9, which is pretty cool, taking the place of WWE main event. They're going to tape that before SmackDown tomorrow night. So, Walter, you're with us. What's going on, buddy? King of the Ring!
King of the Ring! Woo! Party! It's about time this thing came back. The only unfortunate thing is it's going to be over by the time we get a chance to be excited about it. I mean, literally, they promoted it at Extreme Rules, and now it's going to be over on Tuesday. So what's the deal with that?
That's a good point, man. We literally just saw this promo for what's happening this week on the WWE Network, and we saw this thing that we saw live cameras and all this kind of stuff that said we saw the King of the Ring logo, but we had no idea what that was for. We didn't know if that was like behind the scenes of old King of the Ring, pay-per-views, or if this was going to be like a WWE 24 thing where they look at the King of the Ring, or what was going to happen. And then later on in the show, we learned that they're actually doing the King of the Ring tournament, and you saw right before the show they had said that this was going to be happening, but a lot of people didn't catch that bit of news early or late evening before the pay-per-view, and boom, here we go. King of the Ring's back, and it's a gimmick tournament that we've talked about needed to still be in some way, shape, or form in the company. It was always something awesome to watch the tournament. How these guys fight to be the king of the ring, and it used to be, like we said, the stepping stone. The guys that they thought, okay, this is the next up and coming guy. If he gets the King of the Ring accolade, then he's probably going to be one of the next guys. We know that's what happened with Bret Hart in '94. They tried to do it with Mabel in the worst year ever possible in '95. And of course, they were trying to establish him as the next big heel to go against Diesel. That was a terrible feud. And then, of course, you had '96 with Stone Cold Steve Austin, the infamous Austin 316 promo. Just before we even get started here, most of the King of the Rings were heels. We're going to say that the heels have been the ones to get the King of the Ring moniker because the King, obviously, when you're crowned King of the Ring, you're probably going to be boisterous about it. You're going to be arrogant about it. You're going to be a butthole about it. So they've given it to heels for the most part. There have been some faces, but Stone Cold Steve Austin was a heel at the time. Austin 316 promo, which lit him on fire. They knew he was going to be an up-and-coming guy. They didn't know it was going to take off that hot and that soon. I mean, it was literally after that the signs started appearing in the ring, and we all know what happened from there. Most popular superstar ever in the history of WWE. I don't know if you can compare his merch to John Cena's in the inflation of pricing and stuff now and say he's probably still the superstar that sold the most merch, even on top of John Cena, and John Cena has a different shirt every 3 weeks. So Stone Cold Steve Austin obviously launched there, and then in 1997 you had Triple H, and it was supposed to be Triple H in '96. The curtain call, of course, threw that under the bus, and he had to eat crap for a year to get back to there. And we're being joined now by Adam and Samantha Daly. Guys, we are talking about King of the Ring, and we'll get to your guys' thoughts on this right now. But 1997 was Triple H. He ate crap and liked it for a year, and then of course you had he got back to where he was the guy that they were saying, okay, this guy's going to be the next up-and-coming star. King of the Ring, 97, Triple H. King of the Ring, 1998 was Ken Shamrock. Again, somebody else that they were trying to build up to be a main event player. It didn't work out as much as they thought it would. He turned heel a few months after that because he was a face at the time. He was one of the only faces to win the King of the Ring. 1999 was Badass Billy Gunn, and he was a face at the time, and then he tried to go solo and heel after that, and we know how that worked. Boom, here's DX 2000 with the bus and Run DMC, and we know how that turned out. And then, of course, going forward, you had people like Kurt Angle, and of course, one of my favorites to win the King of the Ring, Booker T, who completely changed his character to this awesome faux British character, and he had his wife with him, Queen Sharmell, King Booker, which was phenomenal. And then that was, then we moved on to, after 2 years after that, we had the King of the Ring on Raw. A lot of people were, and they actually held it in Greenville, South Carolina. I was there for that, and we all thought it was going to be CM Punk or Mr. Kennedy at the time, Mr. King Kennedy, Ken Anderson. We thought, is it going to be Kennedy or Punk? Kennedy wasn't able to wrestle for undisclosed wellness policy reasons, and they give it to William Regal, which was pretty cool. King Regal, English descent, very awesome. Of course, Regal is a Hall of Famer very, very soon. He's a trainer in NXT now. And then you have the last king that we had was Sheamus, King Sheamus in 2010. It's been 5 years, no kings. Time to have a king again. Again, round one is tonight on Raw, which is going to give us some really good matches. And then, of course, tomorrow night, the semifinals and the finals from 8 to 9 on the WWE Network that they'll actually broadcast live before the SmackDown tapings. Adam, Sam, we're talking about King of the Ring. We just ran through the list of some of the most memorable Kings of the Ring, obviously. And the funny thing is, and we didn't even talk about this, when Triple H won and then Ken Shamrock won the year after, they had a King of Kings match, and I don't know if you remember this in 1998, on Raw. They had a King of Kings match to decide who would be the actual King of Kings, and Ken Shamrock won the damn thing, but Triple H is called the King of Kings. What's going on there?
Yeah, gimmick infringement. No, I don't know. I don't understand. Sam, what are your thoughts on King of the Ring so far?
I wouldn't be opposed to like a Sheamus winning King of the Ring. I mean, last time Sheamus was King of the Ring was the only time I liked Sheamus, so who knows? Give him King of the Ring again, maybe I'll like him again.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if Sheamus is going to be King of the Ring. We're going to run down the list of the guys that are in the first round that we're going to see on Raw tonight, but we'll get to who we think is going to win it all. We've been talking about this all day in our private chat that we always talk about with all of our staff members. Always talk and BS throughout the day and talk about what's going on in pop culture and in wrestling and everything else in between. And we even said it last night when we were speculating on who would win King of the Ring. If we're going to go classic, what they usually do with Kings, it's going to be a heel. And looking at the lineup, who could be the most qualified to be king at this point in time, and who is probably makes the most sense. We all have our theories on that. We can talk about that in a second. But the first round, we're going to see tonight a match between Dean Ambrose and Sheamus. We just talked about Sheamus has been a king before. Then we're going to see Neville, the up-and-comer that got the win over Bad News Barrett last night in the kickoff show in a phenomenal match. Neville's going to take on Luke Harper. So there you go. You could set up. Sheamus has had issues with Neville. If they wanted to go Sheamus-Neville route to build Sheamus all the way up to the finals, they could do that. Or, of course, if you want to do Dean Ambrose versus Luke Harper, which we just saw last night at Extreme Rules, and that was a weird match. But that feud could continue, and we may see something surrounding that tonight in some way, shape, or form. And then you have R-Truth and Stardust. Honestly, I think they just needed to put two other mid-carders in this thing. Stardust, awesome moveset, really good in the ring, underutilized and underappreciated. R-Truth, also very good in the ring, underappreciated, not given enough stuff to do. I think his last run with the IC title right before WrestleMania was super entertaining with all those guys doing what they were doing. It kind of put R-Truth back on the map for some people where they actually said, oh, yeah, he's still in the company. Other than that, he was kind of getting JTG'd for a little while. But then we have Dolph Ziggler versus Bad News Barrett, of course. If you wanted to, and they're on the opposite end of the spectrum when you get to Dean Ambrose and Sheamus. If you wanted to go back and get the feud of Dolph Ziggler and Sheamus, which we saw, kind of not come to an end last night. Dolph Ziggler's face went into someone's rear end, but it did not come to an end. You could have Dolph Ziggler and Sheamus wind up in the finals if you wanted to go that route, but you could also have Bad News Barrett make it all the way to the end. And that brings me to my prediction for this thing. We're going to see, in my opinion, we're going to see Bad News Barrett go to the finals tomorrow night and come out as King Barrett. He doesn't have to be King Barrett. He's already over as Bad News Barrett. But to me, if they want to leave him as a heel and get the crowd, I mean, the thing is, Bad News Barrett is over, especially with smart fans. He's not a heel. Last night, instantly when his music hit, the Chicago crowd, which we said before was a heel crowd, Chicago crowd popped for him, and he had to bash on the fans and bash on the town to get the heat that for a heel. And then, of course, the fans were all over Neville, who's such an awesome competitor in the ring. It's hard to not be behind him. But Bad News Barrett could shed the bad news and just become King Barrett and adjust his gimmick to be a full-on heel for a little while. I would like that. I think that's probably makes the most sense. I could even see possibly Neville and Barrett being in the finals together again, like they were in a match last night. I think that's the way it could go. Guys, who do you think wins this thing outright? And then we'll talk about different scenarios of how we see these matches going down on Raw and tomorrow night before SmackDown tapings.
Let's see, guys.
Well, you just summarized the entire tournament, Doug. So thanks for that.
I want to know who you think's going to win it all, man.
I'm with you, man. I'm gonna go with Bad News Barrett just because I feel like he's kind of treading water right now. And if anyone, if whoever wins this King of the Ring tournament is going to get the King gimmick. And like you said, heels usually benefit from that the most. I don't think King Neville or King Ambrose or King Ziggler right now makes a lot of sense. So Barrett is the safe pick. I wouldn't sleep on Sheamus though. I think a lot of people are saying, he won the last one. There's no chance he can win it. WWE probably throws us a curveball and gives him a second straight King of the Ring title. But I like Barrett in the finals, and I also like, as a sleeper to get to the finals, I like Neville getting there.
How about you guys?
Agree with you.
You both feel the same way?
Yeah, I feel the same way. I want Barrett to win it. I mean, King B&B is marketing gold from a standpoint, so that would make the most sense. But again, I wouldn't be surprised if Sheamus got it, and they gave it to him twice in a row. So
I'm actually going with Sheamus, and just thinking, I guess, outside the box a little bit. I can see Sheamus and Ziggler making it to the finals, and the only reason why I say that is because ever since he's come back, he's been pushing around all the little guys like they're peasants. He's kind of been like this big bully, and they didn't really do too much with him as King Sheamus, before. It's almost like he's coming back to reclaim his throne, so to speak. So I can. And they have to do something with Sheamus. I don't know if they can risk having him, lose a match 2 straight nights, even if he does go over. I don't know. I just feel like Sheamus might be the pick on this one. And
see, and you have other guys in the chat room saying the same thing. Bad News Burke was just saying, can Sheamus afford to lose twice? And this is where my theory comes into play of how Sheamus and Dolph Ziggler don't even make it to the semifinals, and that's. You have Dolph Ziggler come out and go after Sheamus in the first match of Dean Ambrose and Sheamus in the first round. You have Dolph Ziggler come out, who obviously won the match last night and still got beat down. Obviously, Sheamus was not going to kiss his arse, and he had to come in and bro kick and then shove his unconscious face, as we said would happen last night, into his own arse, and then, of course, left the ring in pomp and circumstance, and the only way that he knows how, yelling "fella," which pisses me off. He still says that when he comes out. It's ridiculous. But I think maybe you have Dolph Ziggler run in and cost Sheamus. You could have Sheamus come out and cost Dolph Ziggler, and then you have their feud continues without the King of the Ring. Neither one of those guys need a gimmick change. Neither one of those guys need the King of the Ring, in my opinion. That's to me how you could have Sheamus lose, and it'd be nice to see Dean Ambrose advance, since Dean Ambrose hasn't done a lot of winning. He had to get a win over Luke Harper last night, but you could also do the same thing with Luke Harper and Dean Ambrose. It could go either way. It could be that Dolph Ziggler comes out and costs Sheamus, or you could have Luke Harper cost Dean Ambrose to have Sheamus advance. Dean Ambrose and Luke Harper are both loose cannons. and I'm not talking about Brian Pillman, but I'm talking about these two guys that are just as crazy as Brian Pillman was. And these, I mean, you could have Luke Harper come out and call us Dean Ambrose, and those guys could continue to feud. That feud is not over. They're gonna wrestle again at Payback, just like I think Sheamus and Dolph Ziggler are gonna wrestle at Payback. It's 3 weeks away. They don't really have a lot of time to build up a new feud for a lot of these guys. And so I feel like you could do either way there. R-Truth and Stardust, I honestly just think Stardust is going to go over because he's a little bit more marketable. And I think that he'll get to the semifinals tomorrow night. And then, of course, the Neville thing, it could be Dean Ambrose cost Luke Harper and have Neville go over. But I think in the semifinals tomorrow night you have Dean Ambrose. Maybe it's Sheamus and Neville. I don't know. But maybe it's Dean Ambrose and Luke Harper. I don't know. We'll see what happens there. But that's how I think you could get Sheamus a loss and continue to go into his feud with Dolph Ziggler. I know it's a face costing a heel, but it's a very pissed off face who had his face shoved in someone else's arse. So it's justifiable for the babyface. But that's how I think I see that going. Some people were saying, what's going on? Like, why aren't there more superstars being involved in this thing? Because they literally only had 2 days, like they had 3 days to plan this thing. This was not something that we saw coming. Walter, you brought it up a second ago. Like they promoted it one night, and then boom, it's like, oh, tomorrow night we're starting King of the Ring finals, and then. Like it's going to be interesting to see. Maybe Dave Meltzer has something on Wrestling Observer Radio tomorrow, or in the newsletter or something, or maybe Mike Johnson or somebody. I've already texted my guy that's a source in WWE asking him when did they actually think, when did they know this was going to be happening? Because to me it just seems like they're going to do this to help give somebody a new gimmick, and I don't know how long they've actually had this thing planned because they dang sure didn't promote it for a free month on the network. They haven't been promoting this at all. They promoted it one night. And I just think it's stupid.
It seems really interesting that this all of a sudden sprung as soon as we find out Daniel Bryan's out, like, 4 to 6 weeks or something like that. So this absolutely coincides.
Maybe they're giving us a King of the Ring since we're not going to see the IC title for a little bit until Daniel Bryan comes back. That might be why they're giving us the King of the Ring.
Right.
It's a very good point. Very good point. And the funny thing is, when we talked about King of the Ring, there's an article we wrote about it 2 years ago where we said, because Daniel Bryan was being really underutilized there. He was doing so many gauntlet matches as part of Team Hell No, and we all said, they did a King of the Ring. Holy crap, how could Daniel Bryan not be the King of the Ring? And now there's a King of the Ring, and he can't even compete. And it just, to me and to Frank and to John, like we were talking about earlier, that just sucks, man. Like, his injury could not come at the worst time. Obviously, he wouldn't need the King gimmick with the IC title, but at the same time, especially 2 years ago when we were talking about it, there was nobody that was performing as well. There was nobody that was getting hotter than him, so we said this guy needs to be the King of the Ring or win a Money in the Bank because, holy crap, this guy is so on fire. He's definitely the next big thing. And like we talked about earlier, the King of the Ring used to signify who the company believes is the next big thing they want to try to get over. And now, Daniel can't compete. And then we did see some people say, how do you... maybe we had people in the chat room just now say maybe Barrett gets to the finals and Daniel Bryan comes out to screw him. We're not going to see Daniel Bryan. We may get a promo from him every now and then, but he's not going to be in there doing stuff with King of the Ring. I just don't. There's no point to that. There's no point in him coming out and screwing over who's supposed to be King of the Ring. I don't care if it's Barrett or not. I mean, their match did not happen. Barrett is still the number one contender, or is he? He's still the number one contender for the IC title, at least as far as we know. So I don't expect to see Bryan involved in any of this. Do you guys see Bryan getting involved in any of this at the end or anything like that?
No, I mean, I think it's if this was 5 weeks from now or whenever, if this was the week before he was going to come back, maybe. But not with him still being out for this lengthy amount of time. And actually, I think they're going to use whoever wins this tournament to go up against Daniel Bryan for the Intercontinental Championship whenever he does come back.
Couldn't have put it better myself.
All the more reason to give the win to Bad News Barrett because he's already the number one contender. You add a little bit more steam to a match that no one really cared about in the first place. It was just Barrett cashing in a rematch clause for the IC title against Bryan. Really no backstory. You have Barrett become King of the Ring. People care.
Yeah, and let's talk about the match that didn't happen because we're kind of lucky it didn't happen. And you and Sam and Adam, y'all kind of hit on this on your review show right after the pay-per-view last night, which is awesome, by the way. one of those things where if we would have had Daniel Bryan versus Bad News Barrett, the tag match, which stole the freaking show, I don't care who you are, you know that was the match that you were highly invested in, the whole match, because of how both teams played to the crowd so awesomely and entertained relentlessly. We would have had that on the kickoff show, and instead we got a really good match with Neville. I mean, we would have had a really good match between Barrett and Bryan. I'm not taking anything away from that, but at the same time, we wouldn't have had that. I mean, there were a couple of matches before the tag match. You know, one kind of just stopped, and we didn't know what was going to be the end of it. And then the other one wasn't that great. So it was one of those things where now we have this match of these tag teams that are really getting people fired up, and boom, they're back. And here we go. Your prediction was the New Day turns heel and wins the titles, which we said, y'all said would happen, and we said that's kind of crazy, but okay, if it happens, I said I'm only going to get behind it if they go full heel. We had a double turn in Extreme Rules. And thanks to the Chicago crowd being so behind Kid-Zaro, I really think we're going to see face Kid-Zaro for the remainder of their time together as a tag team. And we're going to get the new heel continuing to be heels. They knew that they were turning heel. Obviously, it was organic, and they knew they were going to get New Day sucks chance every single time they clapped. They were clapping all throughout the match, trying to keep garnering that heat, that white-hot heat they have on them as heels. And then, of course, we saw Dean Ambrose take him out afterwards. But at the same time, new tag team champions, like you guys said, pat yourselves on the back. And then, of course, you have now a heel tag team with a face tag team chasing them. Actually, a couple of Lucha Dragons get involved. But holy crap, Kid-Zaro's face and the New Day's heel. What do you guys think about that? Are we behind this? Are we for this? Are we excited? Are we disappointed? What's going on?
I'm definitely behind this because I'm guessing they're going to be like the sarcastic kind of dick heels, I should say. They're not going to be anything like any cheesy types of heels. They're going to have some attitude, or faces. They're going to have some attitude to them. So I'm really looking forward to Cesaro and Kid being faces and New Day finally being heels. What about you? And
I think, well, the beauty of, to kind of go back a little bit, but I hate to say this, but the beauty of Daniel Bryan and Barrett not being on the main show, it gave us Neville, and it gave us, I think, a much longer New Day Kid and Cesaro match, because it probably would have trimmed down a little bit if it was on a pre-show. So with that crowd, it really showcased both sides of what they can do. Mm-hmm. And I think, if anything, I think it did solidify New Day as a good, solid, stable. And I think they could go in any direction with Kid and Cesaro as far as how do they incorporate Natalya later on down the line. Is there a way they can incorporate her? 3-on-3 tag matches. I think we could probably have a couple months worth out of these two tag teams.
What do you think, Walter?
I mean, Chicago especially, they love their workers. They love the guys that can go in the ring. So there was going to be an utmost respect for guys like Cesaro and Tyson Kidd right out of the gate. But the problem that I've had with Kid-Zaro, which is the lazy Wrestling Rumors way of calling them, because
that's right,
I'm sick. I can't fit Cesaro and Tyson Kidd on one line. It looks stupid when I do the Sav pick peaks.
Kid-Zaro.
But yeah, it's Kid-Zaro. But they needed something more. They needed either an edge or like more personality, and I think being faces is going to help them in the long run. The New Day just had this organic heel turn because the people just pooped all over that gimmick, and good for them, because when you're a professional wrestler, of course, you want a reaction. Tyson Kidd and Cesaro weren't necessarily getting that, so right now you flip the tables. Tyson Kidd and Cesaro are now chasing them. Hopefully they get a little bit of a face rub and some more fan support.
And I like the fact, like what you said, Sam, was that they're not going to be cheesy faces. They're going to be the attitude-giving faces, and it's awesome because they're going to be the attitude-giving faces, while New Day is going to remain these cheesy heels that are trying to be super positive. At no point should they acknowledge to the fans that they're heels ever. At no point should they ever get mad at the crowd, more so than they are right now, where Xavier Woods was doing an awesome job as the heater on the outside, constantly trying to get in front of the camera and clapping. And when everybody starts chanting New Day sucks, he's like, "We're winning! Like, how can you say that we suck? Like, come on!" And I'm like, yes, I'm getting more behind them now because their charisma. We knew they all could go in the ring. I don't have any issue with that. But as heels, to continue to be cheesy and positive the entire time will make it even worse. And and I compared this in the chat room earlier when we were talking about King Booker. I'm like, you know what? King Booker and New Day have the same kind of heat, the same cheesy, like ridiculous heat that is, and it's funny that it's Booker T's always been such a New Day fan, and I'm like,
this reminds me of
the same.
This reminds me of, I just recently watched one of the older Survivor Series when Kurt Angle made his debut against Shawn Stasiak, and I remember that this one moment during the bout where Kurt Angle goes outside the ring and the crowd is booing him, and he's like, "You do not boo me! I'm an Olympic gold medalist. You do not boo me!" And I was like getting flashbacks to the whole New Day thing. That's what they should be doing. They should be like ridiculing the crowd. How dare you boo us, man?
It's almost like Jericho back in WCW in like '96, '97 when he just about made that turn. You know, when he was.
Don't you boo me!
Yeah, exactly. Don't you boo me! Like, and he no regard to what the crowd was saying whatsoever. And that's the best heat when you're taking that as, oh yeah, no, we're still taking it positively. It drives people insane, and I think that's where they're gonna hit a home run with this.
Oh yeah.
Armbar.
Exactly like Bo Dallas when he was in NXT, how over he was, but how cheesy his gimmick was.
Yeah.
Oh, and we can talk about Bo Dallas. How?
No, because my heart's gonna hurt, man. Let's not talk about Bo Dallas.
Okay, all right. So he's still just the squash guy. But can we establish the fact that anytime his music hits now, he gets a pop, and everybody's anticipating what he's going to say?
Yes.
It doesn't matter if it's on Raw and it's Roman Reigns and you know he's about to get squashed. It doesn't matter if it's on Extreme Rules and it's Ryback and you know he's about to get squashed, because that happened last night. And I kind of expected his brother to pop out at that point and start his feud with Ryback, but we didn't see that. And I swear, it's if they want to not let people realize that they are brothers, why do they allow the nasty facial hair on his face to remain? As soon as he grew that goatee, I'm like, holy crap! You can, like, it's literally Bray Wyatt Jr. over here, trying to tell people to believe. But Bo Dallas, still one of my favorites of all time. I love when this guy comes out. It's the most trollerific, awesome gimmick. It's very similar to the Bad News Barrett gimmick, so I hope that they kind of do the King Barrett deal and get him away from Bad News a little bit and let Bo Dallas continue to come out and be the comic relief. But holy crap, man, I love Bo Dallas, and I hope that we keep seeing more and more of him.
Bo Daxel, man, we need Curtis Axel in Dallas. Like,
no, we don't, because we
Daxel.
I'm with you.
Bo Axel.
Yeah, Bo Axel.
We don't need another Axel combined tag team. We don't. we just need Bo Dallas and Curtis Axel to keep coming out and being the trollerific people that they are.
Heenan Family 2.0. Both of their dads were Heenan guys, right? IRS was a Heenan guy for a minute. Mr. Perfect was a Heenan guy.
Very true.
Guys, the Heenan Family 2.0.
That would be awesome. We just got to get a manager like Bobby Heenan to start that off. Oh no, very very much so. There's no replacing Bobby Heenan, but I would like to see somebody come in and try to reestablish a Heenan family kind of stable with these guys, because that'd be hilarious. But those guys are awesome, and we need, like, that's the kind of entertaining comedy relief that I like. Not the let's take the badass Samoan and make him say suffering succotash. That's not funny to me. It's not entertaining, and it's not realistic. These guys, I just feel like they're this sarcastic in real life, and it works, and it's realistic. And I think that's why the New Day is starting to grow on people. And even everybody in the chat room said they love the fact that Kofi is who Kofi is. He really hasn't changed anything ever. And Xavier is doing a really good job.
In his accent.
Of course. Well, we're not talking about the Jamaican Kofi Kingston from.
He'll be Canadian in a month.
Well, you would know.
That's how positive we are, man. New Day, Canadians, it works.
But they would have to get behind it. They would have to get behind an NBA team, and I don't know who they.
Too
what
soon,
happened?
Man. Too soon.
That's a fresh wound. It's a fresh wound. I did see that.
By the way, before we get off the whole Reigns thing, since you brought him up, can we talk about how uninspired that finish was during the Last Man Standing match? Like, we've never seen that before.
You mean the very predictable finish that I called as soon as the match started on Twitter?
Even Del Rio's at home, you're like, come on now.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny because as soon as I said, well, what's the over/under on when the table gets turned over on Big Show? As soon as the match started, I said that on Twitter, and I had JBL's Dragon in the chat room was like, well, maybe it's the duct tape. No, it's the table. Roman Reigns is not going to use duct tape. He's not Alberto Del Rio. I thought overall that match. It wasn't as bad or boring as we thought it was going to be. There were a lot of hard shots. Given it went a little bit long, but that was because the amount of time that was left on the show could have ended a little bit faster. But
I love how the biggest kudos we can give Roman Reigns right now is it wasn't terrible.
Yeah.
It was watchable.
Yeah.
Yes, like, that's the best.
It served a purpose, at least in the eyes of the casual fan. I didn't hear anybody really booing Roman Reigns at the end of that match.
Exactly, right. And at the end of the day, it could have went really bad. And that was our biggest concern, was how the crowd
could have went really bad.
You know, and yeah.
And it wasn't that bad. The crowd really was into the match. They really weren't booing that much at all. So.
Yeah, I mean, and that's again, like you said, that was our fear. Chicago crowd, these two big guys, they don't want to see wrestle. You know, there were a couple of "you sold out" chants and "please retire" chants, and there wasn't a lot of anti-Roman Reigns chants. So, kudos to, at least, you know, if you want to give some kudos to the fact that the match actually didn't suck, and we didn't get a lot of heat on Roman Reigns at the end of the night when he's standing on the table. There was cheers and no boos. So
small victories.
Little steps, man. Little steps. I still say they should have turned him heel organically and let that ride, and then, you know, organically turn him face later on. But I don't think that's the route they're going to go, because Vince McMahon is very, very stubborn and has brass cojones, and he says, I'm going to do what I still want to do. And I still think we could literally see Roman Reigns go through and win the Royal Rumble and go to the daggum main event of WrestleMania all over again. And I hope it doesn't backfire on him again. But that's the way that went down last night. What else from last night did you guys really enjoy? I thought the finish was terrible. We called it. We called it what it was going to be. It was the RKO from Seth Rollins. I was not into that match at all. We knew that it was going to be, there's something going to be happening with you know, Zool's favorite demon, you know, the big Zool machine. We knew that Zool, the gatekeeper, would get involved at some point, and he did. And did exactly what we thought would happen, and then we got the RKO from Rollins. And that's going to lead us to tonight and see how Rollins tries to weasel out the fact that he used an RKO. He could call it a cutter, he could call it whatever he wants to call it, to try to get out of that. But again, even we said if he uses the RKO, who cares? If he gets disqualified, he keeps the title, so it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if they disqualify him for using an RKO at the end of the day. It was lame to me. I expected more high spots from the cage. I expected more athleticism between these two guys, and we didn't get it. To me, the main event fell flat. I don't know about. I want to hear what you guys think.
Oh yeah, ladies first.
Oh, okay. Well, no, I was just going to say it was a huge disappointment for me. I was expecting a lot more from those two in a cage match, and they just didn't really perform.
Yeah, I mean, I thought on mine at one point at least. I guess once Kane started chokeslamming everybody, and then the match kind of got a little out of control. I don't know. I just thought at one point Orton was going to snap and just RKO Rollins. Something, just anything. Something was missing. Either they tried too hard to force Kane, or again, maybe Kane's the wild card. Maybe that was more of a storyline builder into tonight, but you shouldn't end a pay-per-view on a storyline builder, you know.
But how many times now that we're on the WWE Network, how many times have we seen, especially these B pay-per-views, end with something that has no kind of climax whatsoever outside of something stupid and illogical, only to get us to Raw the next night?
Exactly.
You know?
And I think that's, in a way, that's the new formula, because I mean, I don't know where they're making more money as far as the commercial revenue, ad revenue on Raw or from the network, but they're really trying to get more people to watch Raw. So I guess I think the main event sadly was more about Kane than it was anybody else.
It was.
Who was the focal point?
Is anyone else super worried that we're gonna get a triple threat with Kane as the main event of Payback?
No.
Especially with 3 weeks between, I don't think they're going to put Reigns in there. We did see the ads. We put that on WrestlingRumors.net that it would probably be Orton, Reigns, and Rollins. But I think 3 weeks isn't enough time to incorporate Reigns. I think he'll still continue doing stuff with Big Show, because you don't want to get Kane out of the picture entirely, because that seems to be where WWE is going. I'm just saying, be open to the idea that Kane is the title match at the next pay-per-view.
Yeah, no. I'm not against the idea, because it makes sense with the storyline and how they used Kane as a focal point last Monday through the entire episode of Raw, and then of course last night he was the focal point in the main event. I understand it, but when I see ads roll for Payback during Extreme Rules that are all about Roman Reigns, and I see the leaked promo about it being Roman Reigns and Randy Orton and Seth Rollins, it starts tonight in some way, shape, or form. Roman Reigns is going to get into that title match, in my opinion. The entire preview for Payback is all about Roman Reigns. I mean, they use clips from his WWE 24 thing that's airing later this week in that promo, and it's to me, I just think it's got to be Roman Reigns and Randy Orton and Seth Rollins.
Well, I mean, the pay-per-view is called Payback. I mean, Roman
Right.
Reigns has to get payback on Seth Rollins for ruining his WrestleMania moment. It just makes sense, you know?
Yeah, and the only way I see, I guess, Roman Reigns not being in the main event as far as the triple threat goes is if maybe, you know, now that he's gone through Big Show, the Authority has to tack on, okay, now you have to go through Kane. You know, basically keeping him away from the title, almost protecting Rollins in a certain direction. Although I guess, you know, Triple H has kind of backed off protecting Rollins a little bit too, so we have to see where that really goes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm with you just because I feel like you want to spread this out as much as possible. You want to get through Rollins and Orton right now, and then you go into Rollins and Roman Reigns. You don't want to incorporate both of these feuds together because you want to get as much mileage out of it as possible. I think the earliest we see Roman Reigns challenge for the title is at Money in the Bank.
And I'm totally fine with that, and I hope that they go that route. I just, you know, looking at the promo and looking at the leaked vignette.
Those can always change, though.
Yeah, no, the cards are always subject to change. I'm not saying it's set in stone. I'm just saying, as much as I don't want that, because the same exact reasons you don't, it needs to be spread out, and it doesn't need to be rushed into this. Because, honestly, and if we go WWE logic, it's starting tonight. Roman Reigns is going to get thrust into this thing somehow, some way. It's not going to make sense because he's nowhere near number one contender for the title. Now, Randy Orton is not number one contender for the title anymore either. He lost the match last night. The only thing he can argue is that he did not lose the match because Seth Rollins used the RKO, which could mean, you know, disqualification. Randy Orton actually won the match, so that kind of leaves him number one contender with a victory over the champion, and the title didn't change hands. I can see that going that way, and Orton staying in there, and then of course you can pull Kane in super easy. But and Acer's saying it in the chat room right now, Kane could easily be the guest referee at Payback if they wanted to still use him in that match. And WWE logic and WWE booking says that might just happen. Like that literally could happen. But then you got to think, does Kane screw Seth Rollins, or does he, you know, have to count the 3 for Seth Rollins, and does that continue to fuel the Kane dissension from the Authority? We have 3 weeks. That's the hard part. You have 3 weeks to build towards this next match. Any way you go outside of having Kane as the third guy in the triple threat is going to be tough. And I totally agree with you, Walter. Outside of putting Kane in that triple threat, it's going to be tough unless somehow, some way, they do exactly what Adam just said, and they say, okay, you got to beat Kane now that you beat the Big Show, and then you've got to beat J&J Security next week on Raw, and they just got to go through all the rest of the Authority to get a number one contender shot. But he's not the number one contender, so I don't know how they get him involved in a triple threat all of a sudden. I don't get it.
I just feel like fans want him to like pay his dues in terms of having matches, because when we saw him get his push into the main event of WrestleMania, he was out with that hernia injury. As soon as he comes back, he's put right into the forefront. He wins the Royal Rumble. He goes into Mania, and everyone's expecting him to win. Now that he's kind of like back down the totem pole, so to speak, you kind of have to build him up again. Give him some more matches. Give him some more experience, because right now we made fun of this last night during the Extreme Rules pre-show. This guy doesn't have much of an arsenal offensively. Right now he's just a two-move pony, and I feel like the longer you kind of drag this out, the better it will be for him. He can start garnering more support like he did at Extreme Rules.
And the tricky situation is you have who do you put him against to make him a number one contender? Like what other feuds does he have to have?
I think we're going to get Reigns Wyatt before he gets a title shot.
But okay, if rumors go through, and if the promo which we heard last night in the kickoff, if that leads to Ryback, which we very much think that it will because of what he's been talking about with weightlifting and dedication and second chances and all that kind of stuff. You know, a lot of it's thought maybe he was talking about Roman Reigns to begin with, but it seems like it's going more the route of Ryback, and we know that all the house shows for the next month and a half are Ryback versus Bray Wyatt. It seems like that's the feud that's going to be happening. So what's next?
Go very long.
What's next for Roman Reigns if it's not Bray Wyatt?
I mean, it either has to be you just keep running with the whole Big Show thing, or you throw him into there with Kane. I don't feel like WWE is really going to put much stock into Ryback versus Bray Wyatt. I think it's going to just expose Ryback's weaknesses tenfold, and they're going to pull the plug on that after Payback if that's the direction they're going. But Roman Reigns, I still can't get behind him being in the title match at Payback. Just that's way too early.
I don't necessarily see him being in the title match, but he still does need to feud with the Authority. It's still an unresolved storyline right there that somehow they still need to feud with the Authority. Not necessarily with Orton or with Rollins, just, I don't know, somehow.
Yeah, I mean, I think Money in the Bank, I mean, I agree with you guys. Money in the Bank's the right time, I think, for me. You know, advertising aside. Now, and I mean, I hate to think that they think this way or that they're smarter than us at times, I guess. But, you know, for all we know, they could have leaked that little teaser out intentionally just to troll us. I mean, they've leaked this stuff out before just to kind of throw people off. And I'm not saying that's what they're doing because I don't want to give them that much credit. But
correct.
It's one of those where it just doesn't seem to make sense how they could get Roman Reigns right into the title picture, because the biggest thing with the biggest reason why fans are against him is because it has nothing to do with Reigns. It's that he's just being force-fed to us. And at the end of the day, it didn't work with Rey Mysterio. It didn't work with John Cena. It didn't work with some of the biggest names in the history of wrestling. Why is it going to work for somebody that isn't established yet? So that's why for me that it would make more sense the longer you drag it out. I do think the more successful Roman Reigns is going to be. If you pull the trigger on him, you know, now I feel like not saying Batista's career was bad by any means, but I feel like he's just another Batista.
Yeah, give a very, very good point. And I still feel like we need to have him go through the rest of the Authority, including Triple H, to be a credible #1 contender for the title. And we could easily see Triple H versus Roman Reigns at SummerSlam, and kind of push us more in that route. If we see Seth Rollins versus Brock Lesnar, which we expect to see at SummerSlam, we know that Paul Heyman's returning in July to start building that up, which is awesome. Anytime Paul Heyman's gone, there's something missing on Raw, big time. But at the same time, you could easily do 2 main events at SummerSlam with Brock Lesnar, Seth Rollins, and Triple H, Roman Reigns, to try to get us to that place where we start actually feeling like, okay, but that's the thing. Everybody's still gonna believe he's just getting force-fed everything. But like to your credit, what you said, if you stretch it out over a span of time where he's not in all these title matches, again, I said it after WrestleMania. If you don't let him get near the title for a year, until WrestleMania 32, if you don't let him touch or get near the title picture, it'll be a lot more easy for fans to latch behind him and say, okay, you know, he won the Royal Rumble again, or whatever happens there. Maybe he wins Money in the Bank and cashes in for a triple threat. We all said maybe Dean Ambrose wins Royal Rumble. We get a Shield triple threat at WrestleMania, which would be awesome. You know, what do you do? To me, I think you keep him away from him as long as possible, and then have him finally get his due, finally get his big win that he was supposed to get next year at WrestleMania 32 in Dallas. And if he just jumps into the Payback triple threat, that just kills.
And I think a big wild card here too is that, you know, forward thinking to next year, like that could be his big moment at next year's WrestleMania. Well, how do we know if the fans don't latch on? How do we know they won't flip him heel? You know, and he gets the title, because I think a heel Roman Reigns, he's more natural that way. He like you said, he's just got that badass look, but he's a more natural speaker when he is in more of a heel or an antagonistic type of role. I mean, I think his best week was over in England, and England was laying it on him. You know, and I don't know. I think there's something they should look at that more as how they can make the most out of him right now versus trying to turn him into a pet project, so to speak.
Yeah, I mean, and that's the thing that we don't understand, why WWE doesn't get that. Why he wasn't already turned heel. Like, why he didn't turn heel organically with everything going on. Why couldn't he come out so pissed off that Seth Rollins cashed in on him that he just obliterated everybody? You know, that's the kind of thing that he used to do, like in the Attitude Era. If somebody was pissed off, they just came out and destroyed. Freaking Ken Shamrock did that forever. Every time he lost a match, he just came out the next night, obliterated everybody. Undertaker did that when he didn't win the title against Stone Cold Steve Austin. Came out, obliterated everybody. Like, this is stuff that and then he turned heel, and that's how, like, that started his heel turn, and that's organic. It's something that, yeah, it's gonna make everybody go, God, this guy's a badass because he's just coming in and obliterating everybody. But at the same time, it actually makes him a cool heel, and eventually, after a cool heel gets natural and people get behind him being a heel, they can turn him face again, and people are behind it. And I don't understand why they didn't do that yet. As long as they continue to try to force him down our throats as a babyface, it's not going to work. Even his last promo about the Big Show, it just there was a lot of it felt super scripted. Even though he used a non-TV PG word in his promo, it was not very. It didn't feel real. It didn't feel natural. You know, until he said that word, nothing felt natural. It felt scripted the entire time, and that's how it's going to continue to feel until they let him be who he is. And as I've compared him to The Rock so many daggum times, the way The Rock came in and they try to force feed him as a face for a year and a half. He gets hurt, he comes back, boom, heel. And it was The Rock saying, I can be a better heel, so can I just be a heel for a little bit? And he got over as a heel because he was so good. And I think that Roman Reigns could do the same thing. It's not about... I don't think Roman Reigns isn't talented. I don't think Roman Reigns doesn't have the look. I don't think that he doesn't have the charisma. I think that they are trying to force feed a charisma that he doesn't have in him, and it's a fake character that's just not good. And what we see tonight is what we'll see tonight, and we'll know in about 45 minutes where they're going to start going with that. But we probably will see at the beginning of the show another John Cena Open Challenge for the U.S. title, which we've said we hope that he holds on to the title because we love these open challenges. It gives other stars time to shine. With all the mid-card guys basically taken up in King of the Ring, who do we see answer the open challenge tonight? I'm going to go out and say it. I think I would mark out something huge if Damien Sandow came back as Damien Sandow and got into the U.S. Open Challenge tonight. I think that would be a good way for him to come back as Damien Sandow. The fans would pop something fierce for it. He could have a really good match with John Cena. There's nobody that he's one of the hardest working dudes they have if they could actually use him in that way. But who do you guys think could answer the challenge tonight with all those other guys already taken up in the King of the Ring?
I really like the Damien Sandow idea. There's always Adam Rose, Fandango. I mean, there's so many still undercard guys that can just go and fill that spot real quick since all the mid-card guys are in the King of the Ring. It's a toss-up, really. I'm
actually surprised Sandow isn't in King of the Ring, to be honest with you. And just for how over he's been. So I got to agree. I mean, I think that would be the smart move tonight. Come back, whether it's his old music. I don't know if they'd really go to his old gimmick. You know what I mean? That's the tricky part is they can't really have him come out to his old music without the whole savior of the masses type of gimmick too. But I don't know. It would have to be him or. I really can't think of
Axel.
Yeah. I was gonna say Neville.
Ryback.
Yeah. Ugh.
I'm not saying it's going to be a good match. I'm just trying to throw people's names out there, man.
Well, they teased last week, in that cafeteria setup that maybe Eric Rowan might be interested in challenging for the belt. So I'm going to say Eric Rowan.
That's a good choice.
Maybe Heath Slater because he won't get RKO'd through a table this week.
It would be interesting to see Eric Rowan because we just haven't seen him do anything. It'd be interesting to see him have a time to shine and have a good match. The guy is not a bad worker in the ring, so I would like to see it. But it's also a double-edged sword with this whole John Cena Open Challenge thing because you're going to get a good match, and the part of the draw for it is who's going to show up and who's going to be the guy that challenges them this week. But they've missed the boat the last two pay-per-views, and at the end of the pay-per-view, or either at the end of it, or later on the network, or later on WWE.com, or the very next night on Raw, saying he's defending that title against Rusev at the next pay-per-view. And so it kind of he's not going to lose the title in the next 3 weeks because he's got an I Quit match with something that we.
Yep.
And John Cena feud with them. The I Never Say Quit John Cena versus the guy that has made everybody quit, whether it's passing out or not, to the accolade. It's an I Quit match, and I've been jonesing for this. I've been waiting for this. Their match last night sucked donkey balls. I really hope that the I Quit match is a lot better. This whole new, we didn't even touch on it, but I'm just going to hit on one little thing. This whole new version of a strap match or a chain match is atrocious. At no point should you not have to take your freaking opponent from post to post. I hate those matches anyway, but at no point should you have to not take them from post to post and hit their heads on the post or throw them into the post, either one, to make that light go off. It was basically glorified tug of war the entire time. I felt like I was watching this dumb tug of war match, and I was so angry with how piss poor that match was.
That should have been done. That should have been it for John Cena and Rusev, and I think the quality of that match was, proof that I think people just are kind of over John Cena versus Rusev, and if they continue to put Rusev in matches with John Cena, he's not going to win. I don't think he's going to win the United States title at Payback. So all you're doing is burying a monster heel who had probably one of the better years in the company last year, and now you're just kind of feeding him to the almighty John Cena. Terrible booking by WWE. I said this in the piece last night. John Cena is 4-0 in I Quit matches. He's not going to be 4-1 after Payback.
I don't know. See, this is where we differ on this, bro. Like, literally, with the Rusev thing last night, hated the match. Absolutely hated it. But as soon as they announced that there's going to be an I Quit match between the two, I got excited about it again. I've wanted to see Rusev and John Cena in an I Quit match. I'm not dogging the fact that this match is happening, and I'm not going to say that I'm sick and tired of seeing Rusev versus Cena. I'm not. Their first two matches were really, really freaking good. And I think that for what they were, with two big guys going at it and brawling, it's not technical, but it's a brawl. I liked it. I liked the WrestleMania match. I liked the one at Fastlane. I'm not dogging this match. I'm looking forward to the I Quit match. It puts a damper on the whole U.S. Open Challenge because someone's getting hit with two AAs because one just isn't enough anymore. I guess Cena got really weak, and one AA never ends anybody anymore. It's got to be two at least. Even though he's going to kick out of he could kick out of 3 of their finishers. He has to use 2 AAs at this point.
Wasn't it just 1 AA at WrestleMania?
Just dumb.
I could have sworn it was 1.
It was 1 AA after 1,000 other moves that he tried to end it with. But I'm talking about. But that's WWE booking. That's the issue with WWE booking and logic because Stardust needs 2 AAs. Who did he face last time?
Kane.
Last week. Kane, 2 AAs. Bad News Barrett, 2 AAs. Like these guys need 2 AAs, and Rusev only needed 1 at WrestleMania.
Finishers don't do what they used to.
No, it's just that they think that 9 false finishes in a match actually make the match more compelling when it doesn't. It just makes things not make sense.
Right.
Makes it illogical.
HBK versus Undertaker ruined everything in terms of false finishes.
It should have stopped there, though, because that's probably the greatest match in the history of WrestleMania. Period.
Yeah.
Outside of Macho Man and the Dragon, there's no other argument. But
it was false finish after false finish after false finish, and people are saying that's the greatest match in WrestleMania history. So they just want to take that formula and put it on TV every week.
But those people aren't the Undertaker and Shawn Michaels.
Right. Right. And you can only do it so much before it starts to get watered down. How many times have we seen a schoolboy roll up in the past? Really, every show there's at least 3 schoolboys, for a pin. And it's
the first 2 matches finished in roll-ups last night.
Yeah. So, you talk about something getting watered down, and they're doing the same exact thing now with false. There should be a certain stage for false finish matches. Pay-per-views, main events are Raw maybe, and that's it. I think once you start to overdo it, now we expect it, and then once you expect something and it's not there, we're let down.
Yep. Yeah. Yep. Absolutely. And like I said, I'm looking forward to the I Quit match. I think it's going to be a good match. I was excited about that. I just wanted to touch on the fact that I think that the strap match was atrocious. And that should never.
Terrible. I'm with Chris on this. I was hoping that the feud was going to be done with this, and they're going to have another one. Draw it out another
4th straight pay-per-view. Like, come on, creativity
Hey,
once in a while.
Okay, then you're just falling into the trap that there only needs to be 3 matches, 3 pay-per-view matches for people. When I totally think that's done way too much. It's a rubber match every single time. What happened to the long drawn-out feuds that we used to get with Undertaker and Batista ran for 4 pay-per-views, 5 pay-per-views. Undertaker and Edge ran for 5 or 6 pay-per-views. Undertaker and Brock Lesnar went for 5 freaking months. Those were meaningful feuds that actually made people's careers and it wasn't just, okay, you won that one, I won that one, we have a rubber match, let's see what happens.
Well, thank
or
God
was it
they
John
showed.
Cena? John Cena hasn't won every match, at least.
Well, thank God they showed Lana going into the authorities' office last night, because on what principle does Rusev deserve another shot? He lost at WrestleMania. He lost again at Extreme Rules. He gets another match at Payback in an I Quit match. That's why they showed Lana with the authority. That's the only reason.
Which is great. At least they were smart enough to do that.
Yeah.
And keep in mind, I mean, this is an I Quit match too, right? So theoretically, if there, because we touched upon this last night, if there's starting to be some cracks in the Rusev-Lana foundation, who's to say that Lana doesn't say I quit and basically walk away from Rusev? Because there are talks that she might go into to a singles career later on this year. So they would have to split her and Rusev up some way. Maybe that's why this is just getting drug out a little bit longer. Is really just to get Lana off of Rusev.
And it gives us the I Quit match that we all want Rusev to be in, with someone that says I don't quit, I never give up. So
we wanted this last year with Brock Lesnar and John Cena, though, at
Yes,
Night of
we did.
Champions. I wrote that piece about it.
Yes, we did. And then as soon as he started getting in with Rusev, all I could think of was, okay, Rusev's beating everybody with the accolade, no matter who it is. Can I not get an I Quit match with Rusev? Because it just makes the most sense, especially to end their feud. And boom, here we go. It's at least going to end their feud. I could totally see what Adam said, and Lana throws in the towel and says, he gives up, just like she gave in and put the match together for WrestleMania. The way we saw the WrestleMania match built up, I thought maybe the WrestleMania match was going to be an I Quit match, and I thought it made the most sense with what John Cena did to Rusev the week before. But we didn't get that, so now we're going to get it. We're going to see what happens. I'm excited about that. They're going to build towards that tonight still, which will be really good. I hope Rusev comes out at the end of the, maybe he costs whoever's in the ring with Cena tonight. Maybe he gives the DQ to Cena so that he comes in and obliterates Cena, and Cena wins via DQ or something. Either way, I expect to see Rusev and John Cena tonight go at it some more, and I'm not mad at that. I want more meaningful feuds, and feuds that go longer than 3 months, because God knows when you have somebody like they dropped the ball with Dean Ambrose and Seth Rollins. Dean Ambrose said as soon as Seth Rollins won the Money in the Bank, I'll never let you cash in Money in the Bank, and then there's Seth Rollins casually cashing in Money in the Bank at WrestleMania, like we didn't remember that Dean Ambrose said he's never going to let him do it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. It's that short-term memory loss. Yeah, it's that short-term WWE memory loss. They go to about 2 or 3 weeks ago, and that's it. Everything. It's like Roman Reigns was the leader of the Shield. No, like if you go back and look at all the Shield graphics, really for the majority of the time, Dean Ambrose was in the front, and Rollins and Reigns were in the back. Granted, they never had a so-called leader, but I think Ambrose was looked at as the leader. So when Roman Reigns came back from injury, and they were like, "Oh, he was the leader of the Shield," No, he wasn't. He was, first of all, him and Ambrose were almost at each other's throats. They almost crumbled the Shield before Rollins did. He kept them together. So it's that WWE logic of, okay, let's go back 3 weeks. That's what everybody remembers, and nothing else happened before that.
And there's a reason why Ambrose was the singles champion, right? And it was Reigns and Rollins as the tag champs.
Yep.
There you go, exactly.
So, I mean, that's an issue we've consistently talked about in the show. WWE booking, WWE logic. That's why I keep saying WWE logic, because it's this formula they've been using for a while, since at least 2007, where we don't want you to remember what happened 6 weeks ago. We only care about what happened today. And it's infuriating to people that have brains. I don't like it. It literally has, ever since they've gone TV PG. And I'm not saying it has absolutely nothing to do with the rating of the product, but I'm telling you, since 2008, 2010, it has been, let's do this, and we'll do it for a little bit, and if it doesn't catch, we're going back to what we were doing before, and you know what? If we go to try to start something new, nobody's going to remember. Nobody's going to remember. It's infuriating. It's absolutely infuriating. I hope that we get more meaningful feuds that go longer than 3 months. So I'm happy with this. As a guy who has always appreciated something that Cena can bring to the table, which is hype. No matter if it's bad hype or good hype, he at least brings hype. A lot of people are and people. I'm getting so fed up with people on Twitter saying that Bray Wyatt was buried by John Cena. Bray Wyatt. We were talking about a minute ago. Bray Wyatt gave a promo last night, and everybody on Twitter was like, "Oh, that was so epic," and he's doing like it's awesome. And then I had somebody, is he gonna get buried by Ryback too? And I'm like, he's not buried if he's on TV every single week doing a backstage promo, and everybody's talking about his promos. Like if he was buried, he wouldn't be on the program.
Right, and just like he wasn't buried by Undertaker at WrestleMania. If anything else, keeping Undertaker off TV for that entire time did nothing but elevate Bray Wyatt into a level that he's never been at before. So
there's a complete difference between being buried and just having a storyline not going over well.
Right.
It's just two completely different.
Exactly right, and it's not even the storyline didn't go over well because Undertaker won, and it wasn't or Undertaker won, John Cena won, but those programs you remember why? Because Bray Wyatt made it incredibly compelling to watch that program. That John Cena program building up to WrestleMania was incredible.
Yes, it was. Absolutely.
I mean, the fact that John Cena is actually scared of something was awesome, and the fact that the way that they did the promos and the spot where Cena's in the bathroom and the sheet mask appears and then it's gone, that kind of stuff was awesome. I'm sorry, it was old school Papa Shango and Ultimate Warrior kind of stuff. It was great.
And you say, look at the crowd at last year's WrestleMania during Bray Wyatt's match, and look at it this year. Tell me who did more for him. Was it Taker or was it John Cena? Because last year, John Cena, there were 75,000 people heavily invested in Bray Wyatt versus John Cena. Whether you like Cena or not, there were 75,000 strong that were invested in that. This year the match wasn't as good, but again, Bray Wyatt carried the full build-up, so I don't know how people can say that Bray ever got buried, because in a way, heels aren't supposed to win all the time either. Heels are supposed to, at the end of the day, you're supposed to lose. Exactly. So it's about building the character. So
I think people just, because he's such a good heel and because he's such a good character, people are so behind him that they're like, I don't like my boy, I don't like him losing so much. Dean Ambrose is a face. I understand people getting upset that he's losing all the time because he's a face. Right. Bray Wyatt is a heel. He's supposed to lose. I don't. Same things happen with Bad News Barrett, where everybody's like, why does Barrett keep losing? I'm like, he's a heel. Heels are supposed to. How many freaking matches did Ric Flair lose? Like, I don't understand. He was still Ric Flair, but he lost sometimes twice a night for 3 years. Even though he didn't lose the title, he lost.
There's a reason why he's the 16-time champ. You got to lose it 15 times.
Exactly right. Exactly right. And I don't understand. That's another reason why John Cena is a 15-time champ.
Right. Exactly.
You got to lose it and give it to the heel so the babyface can chase, and then the babyface wins it, and then the heel gets it, and the babyface chases. Oh, people just need to learn wrestling 101. It's wrestling 101. That's why I said I wouldn't be mad if New Day won the titles last night, because boom, you're gonna have a fresh new set of heels with the titles. Baby faces can chase. Lucha Dragons, Kid Zaro in 6 months when the Usos come back, you can keep that going, or you can turn Kid Zaro again, or whatever. You can even turn the Usos heel, which has not been the case yet. So since they've been hot, they haven't been heels. So. You can do what you want to do there. The Ascension is a waste, so you're not going to have them come through. Los Wastadores, even if you turn them heel, it'd still be a waste. So I don't know what you could do there. But Raw's tonight, we got the first round of King of the Ring tournament, which I'm really excited about. I'm really excited for Raw tonight, mainly because the King of the Ring is back. I'm such a King of the Ring fan. As soon as they made the King of Swing shirt and the old King of the Ring logo for Cesaro last year right after WrestleMania, I bought it the first day. Like, I was like, okay, King of the Ring and Cesaro, I'm done. It's mine. I'm owning that. I love King of the Ring. I hate that it's so short, and I hate that it's only a 2-day thing. But I'm excited about it. So we're gonna get good matches tonight between some people. We're probably gonna see some good run-ins and hopefully a good building towards Payback as far as storylines. We've only got 3 weeks, so that's got to happen. Guys, what are you looking forward to tonight?
I'm looking forward to seeing what all is going on with Seth Rollins and Randy Orton and Kane. What exactly the Authority has to say about Kane choke slamming everybody, and how they're going to explain Rollins being able to use the RKO. I'm really interested to see how they explain that.
I'm a big King of the Ring, Mark. I'm not going to lie. There's something about the tournament structure, and it's different because it's not for a title or #1 contender. I used to love the King of the Ring pay-per-view. I wish it was all in one night, to be honest, just because it gave it that Iron Man, kind of feel to it. So I love King of the Ring. That's, for me, this was a pleasant surprise that came out of nowhere. I'm with you. I wish we would have known about it a little bit more ahead of time, but at the same time, when life gives you a present, you take that.
You unwrap it and you enjoy. Walter, what are you looking forward to tonight, buddy?
Man, I'm all about those first-round matches, man. I think the wrestling itself is going to be incredible. I mean, Dean Ambrose versus Sheamus, those two are going to beat the living hell out of each other. Dolph Ziggler and Bad News Barrett had a Match of the Year television candidate last year. Yes, and don't sleep on Neville versus Luke Harper. I've seen those guys wrestle each other on the independent scene. Those guys could steal the show.
Heck yeah, man. Freaking A. I noticed that you left out Stardust and R-Truth.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm excited for that one too, man. That's going to be a good match. I love watching Cody Rhodes. I don't care if he's Cody Rhodes. I don't care if he's dashing Cody Rhodes. I don't care if he's putting paper bags over people's heads. I don't care if he has a porn mustache that didn't really grow in all the way, and he's trying to be a Team Rhodes scholar with Damian Sandow, which is still one of my favorite tag teams. I hate that they broke up. And I love Cody Rhodes. I love the Stardust gimmick. I hope it keeps going. I love the Mr. Sinister cape that he has on because I'm a Marvel geek as well. We actually have a T-shirt over at Wrestling Rumors Tees. You can get there on the website and go see that out. There's a awesome T-shirt, Sinistar, and it's of course about Stardust with the Sinister cape. It's awesome. I love it. I've got one somewhere around here. I love that shirt. I love the shirts at Wrestling Rumors Tees. Get over there, get you one at some point in the evening. You can follow us at Wrestle Rumors. We'll be live tweeting all throughout Raw. You can follow Chris Walter at Walter Sports. You can follow Adam at Adam Daily 13. You can follow Sam at Lady Nexus 13. You can follow me at Doug O'Mac or at Wrestle Rumors. You can follow the rest of the Wrestle Rumors crew if you can search out who they are. They didn't show up tonight, so I'm not plugging them. No, I'm just kidding. At John Alba SFC and at Glassmode ALB. And, of course, we have a review show right here on WrestlingRumors.net immediately after Raw to go about 10-15 minutes just like last night one's did. I can't even speak right now. Last night's did, just like that one did. It'll go about 10-15 minutes, and Sam and Adam are going to break down what happened on Raw. They'll give you a little taste of what they thought of the King of the Ring, what they thought of the build-ups towards Payback, and, of course, they'll kind of preview what's going to go down tomorrow night in the King of the Ring, since that's going to be the big thing for the next few days at least. And then, of course, Wrestle Reaction will be on immediately after that on WrestleReaction.net with Frank and Joe. Have a good night. Enjoy Raw. Tweet us throughout the entire thing. It actually, live tweeting really helps us get through the dull moments in Raw. I'm not expecting a lot of dull moments in tonight's show with what we have with the King of the Ring and everything else. So enjoy Raw, enjoy wrestling. Until the next time, we'll catch you on the next one. Peace.